church, Reverend Dr. Hale and First Lady. Thank you to Robert who introduced me, to all the members who are here today to listen to what the Lord is saying through me today. I was so glad that Robert touched on why my bio was so short. My mom even asked me, she said, well, is that all you're going to write on there? I said, yes, ma'am, it is. Whenever I speak, I like for God to speak through me, and I want people to be able to see me for who I am. It's not about what the Lord has allowed me to accomplish in life. It's not about any type of titles, but it's just about what God has connected me to. That's just who I am as a person. That's just me. The Lord has changed the message several times on me, from when Robert first contacted me and asked me to speak, which was really crazy to me because I had just came home from work one day, and the business that I am in, my business, personal business, I'm a speaker, so I go different places and I speak. And I was sitting at the table because the speaking opportunities that I wanted wasn't quite coming through. And I was sitting at the table and I was praying to God and I was asking God, I was like, Lord, I felt like this was the business that you gave me to create. I know that I'm supposed to speak to people, but why aren't these opportunities aligning the way that I thought that you said they were going to align? And all of a sudden, when I got finished, I looked at the phone and I went to my text messages. And my friend Danny had messaged me and was saying that Robert wanted to get in contact with me about speaking here today. So I said, well, Lord, I guess I got to come on and let's get work. So we went from a message of, we were going to talk about, what was the first message the Lord gave me about looking in the mirror and how a just man will fall 7 times and then rise up again. Then I heard the Lord say, no, we're going to talk about being humble and taking a seat. And then this morning I woke up, after preparing that message, what I thought the Lord was telling me to speak. I woke up this morning and I was in there and I was getting ready and heard the Lord say, nope, that's not what we're going to talk about today. I said, Lord, wait a minute now. This whole thing has been wrote out, planned, and everything else. But I'm a vessel of the Lord, so I had to be humble to God and take a back seat to what he wanted his people to hear today, which is going to be, even Jesus had to listen. All right now. And we're going to be coming out of Luke 2nd chapter, verse 41 through 47. If you're accustomed to standing, you can stand, whatever you do in the household here. And it reads, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew not of it. But they, supposing him to have been in the company, went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinfolk and acquaintance. And when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. Praise God. How many know that sometimes growing up, and maybe the kids can relate, I'm pretty sure everyone in here can relate to it, it's sometimes in life where can't nobody tell you nothing. I'm talking about, they can say the sky's blue, and you gonna say, well, it got a hint of green in it. They can say, well, you know what? We need to go to church and we need to get on the same page. And they say, well, you know, we gonna meet at 9 o'clock, and everybody agreed at 9 o'clock. You have that one person that's gonna say, well, you know what? We gonna meet at 9:05 today. Amen. So, you know, it was times in my life growing up where I had to be able to listen, but how many know that everybody didn't know I was listening to them because I haven't quite mastered that level of vulnerability yet. So I was listening to what everybody was telling right, but I wasn't letting them know I was listening to them because I needed them to think that I had it all together and that I had everything, that I knew everything that I needed to know. So what they were saying, it kind of seemed to be falling on deaf ears, but how many know I still was listening to them? Amen. So I came here today to tell you that just because you think that you got it all together, just because you feel like you've mastered one area in your life, that don't mean that you stop listening to people. Amen. We find here the difference. I want to break down the difference between active listening and passive listening. When you're an active listener, you're fully engaged. You're listening to what people are saying to you. You're giving them eye contact. You're asking the questions that needed to be asked so that you can get the answer that you need to take you to the place that you need to go to. Now, when you're a passive listener, that's what I was practicing back in the day when I wasn't quite vulnerable enough to let people know that I was listening to them. You're just listening to hear people. You're not asking them any questions. You're just sitting and you're just listening to them. Some people sit and they actually take in what that person is saying, but they will never let them know that they're hearing. That's what I used to do. Some people will sit and they'll give you eye contact all day long, but how many know that it's going in one ear and out the other? And when they get up, they don't know nothing that anybody has said. So that's your difference between being an active and a passive listener. Now, I want to go back to the text for a second, where it says that Jesus, it says, verse 46 says, and it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. All right. Now, according to what Bible you're reading, you'll find that it either says he was among doctors or that he was among religious council. Now, how many know if Jesus was listening to these people and asking these people questions, what that tells you is that if it specifically told us who Jesus was sitting among, it matters who we associate ourselves with. So if Jesus had to sit and had to ask questions, what that number one tells me is that we all don't have it together. Because if my Jesus had to ask some questions, baby, you better believe I got some questions down in my soul that I need to ask. Amen? So if Jesus was among these people, that means that we have to get among the right counsel. That means that whatever it is that you're going after in life, that you feel that is your purpose, that is your calling, whatever that is, you need to get among those people who can help take you to that next level. You can't be out here asking a mechanic to help you perform heart surgery. Amen? You can't be out here asking worldly people to help you understand what God has given you in a spiritual realm to understand life. Amen? So if Jesus was among the religious teachers, listening to them and asking questions, we have to listen and we have to also ask questions as well. Amen? So it means that if Jesus had to listen and search for understanding, that we have to get a question down off in our belly. Now, what we're going to go over to is the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22 and 23. Now, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So these people who we're sitting amongst and in the council with, if they don't produce that fruit of the Spirit, then why are we listening to them? You know, it's one thing to judge a person, but it's another thing to take in what a person is saying and saying, well, you know what? I have to go off of what I feel that the Lord is telling me. And if that person aligns with that, then fine. But if they don't align with that, we don't have to listen to them. Amen? Amen. Now, how do you act is what I'm going to ask you when you're listening to people. Because what it said was that Jesus was asking questions. He wasn't only listening. Remember, Jesus was an active listener. So he was asking questions. So I want to know, how do you act when people respond to your question? When you ask people, you know, let's just say, how do I perform a certain task? And they say, well, first you have to start by listening to what we really have to say. Do you say, well, I listen somebody have to say? Or do you say, well, I listen, but, I'm going to do what I have to do anyway? Because that's what a lot of us are doing. Amen? So my thing is, how are you reacting to it? What's your action after you hear what they're trying to tell you? And if you don't react with the fruit of the Spirit as well, don't get mad when those people cut you off and stop talking to you. Amen? Now, we just talked about, why are you asking worldly people to confirm a godly encounter or message? So before we can look at those people and make sure that they're aligned with what we align with, we have to make sure that we are in alignment what we want to align with. Amen? Right. Now, there will be some people in your life that you will have to practice passive listening with. Amen? Because, we all have those people in our lives where we don't even solicit anything from them. We're not asking them any type of questions, but they'll come and tap you on the shoulder and say, well, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. But how many people know that not all, back in the day they used to say, don't shoot the messenger. Yeah. Amen. We also can't turn that messenger away. Sometimes we have to listen to what that messenger is telling us, but we just can't respond. We can't practice active listening with those type of people. Yeah. Amen. We have to sit there. We have to listen to what they're saying, take it in, and go on about our business. My daddy used to always say, that's called feeding people out of a long-handled spoon. Amen. So there's some people in your life who you're going to have to learn to feed out of a long-handled spoon. You're going to have to listen to whatever it is that what they're bringing you. You're going to have to listen to that bone that they carrying, but you ain't going to do nothing with it. You just going to sit back on it. And by and by, you're going to either say, you know what, that person was lying, or you know what, that person had a point. Amen? All right. So, we're going to have to be careful who's bringing us the bone. Amen? So, that was our first thing. How do you react when people answer the questions that you're asking them? And sometimes we're going to have to learn to be a passive listener. Amen? Amen. Now, 2 is, what's your question? What's your question? How do you expect your life to get better if you don't have the right questions to ask the right people? Because we just told you that you have to be amongst the right people, right? And get amongst the right counsel. So if you're among those people, but you don't have a question to ask, then they don't want you sitting at their table. Can I be honest with you? Because what happens is you begin to suck up them and everything that they have to offer you, and they're steady pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring into you, and they don't have nothing else to give to themselves. Amen? So if you're going to come and you're going to sit at these tables and you're going to get into the rooms that God is taking you to, then you better believe that you're going to have to study. You better believe that you're going to have your own experiences, so that when you get to these places and that you get at these tables and that you're opening your mouth and the Lord is telling you that it's your time, that you actually have something to bring. Amen? So some of the questions can be, who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? Now, how many know that you can't ask everybody those type of questions? I like to call that my 10% question. Amen? Because, you got a lot of friends in your life who will give you 90%. But it's only a select friends in your life who can give you that extra 10. Amen? So that also means that when you're in the right counsel with people, if they're at this level in your life and you're still kind of segueing down here, you're among those people for a reason. So whatever those people have to tell you, you might want to listen. Amen? So what I'm saying to you today is that it's something that when you go home, it's some people who you're going to have to call, and you're going to say, you know what, you've been giving me 90% my whole life. You told me that the things that I'm saying is good. You're telling me that the ideas that I have are great ideas, but I need to know that 10%. I need to know the truth about where I am. I already kind of have an answer in my head, but I need you to kind of help me confirm these things and what the Lord is telling me. And you can't ask everybody to tell you your last answer. But then we're going to have to go back to the first point of the message, was that when they respond to you, you can't have a hostile attitude. Because that 10% sometimes is going to say, you know what? Well, you're in the right rooms, but you're not quite doing the studying that you need to do to be able to propel yourself forward. Sometimes your friend's going to be able to say, you're a procrastinator and you need to fix that. Sometimes your friends are going to tell you, you know, when we was out there walking the other day, you were a bit winded, so we may need to go walking a few more days. Amen? Sometimes your friends are going to tell you, you got a bad attitude and you need to fix that. So the way you receive that is going to tell us about what you truly have down on the inside of you. Amen? Amen. Now, where am I? Your friends are going to be able to tell you, you know what? You're not where you say you are, but that's just a front that you're putting up because you've been listening to so long, fake it till you make it. I have a problem with that because sometimes you have people who've been faking it for 20, 50 years. And how many know that if you put some type of action behind the things that you want to evolve in your life, that the fruit is going to come one time or the other. I'm not saying that it's going to be steadily producing the fruit, but after a while, you're going to be tilling soil, you're going to be working your garden, you're going to be able to learn something, and eventually, every now and then, you're going to have a fruit to fall off of that tree. Amen. So you can't fake it till you make it for years and years and years, and keep saying, I'm just going to fake it till I make it, because that tells me you ain't quite doing it right. Amen. Amen. Now, the other question is, where am I going? When you get amongst the right counsel in your life and you have the right people in your life, they're going to be able to tell you, you know what? You say you want to go to New York, but right now, you headed to Florida. Amen? Amen? My thing is, if you're trying to go north, but you're studying backpedaling and going south, you need somebody in your life to give you that last 10% to help you correct your course. Amen? Amen. Now we're going to go on to the third point of the message, which is your knowledge is powerful too. And we're going to go back to the text to show you why your knowledge is so powerful and why you have to be able to seek understanding for yourself and be able to have your own experiences in life to tie into what the counsel and your friends and that last 10% is that everyone is telling you. Verse 47 says, and all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. So first it told us that Jesus was the one who was asking the questions, right? It says in 46, it says both hearing them and asking them questions. Now, in verse 47, it says at his understanding and answers. What that means is that when Jesus asked these questions of these doctors and these religious people, they gave him an answer and he paraphrased it back to them. Amen? Yeah. But then it says his answers, which means that they were so astonished at the way that he was paraphrasing things that they had a few questions that they wanted to ask Jesus. Amen. Amen. And how many know that if Jesus wasn't connected to the ultimate source, our Father in life, then he would have never had anything to be able to respond to them when they asked him the answer. Which is why you can't go into people's homes, you can't go into these tables, you can't go into these places in life where you're saying that you're supposed to be and you don't have nothing to contribute to the conversation. Amen? Because when you are asked questions, you need to be able to answer with a heartfelt response that's coming from God. So how many know that you got to get connected to the source? I don't care what your age is in life, you got to have something that you need to bring to the table. Amen? Which means that you need to grasp and process, understand, and then speak up. Amen? When you grasping something, that means that the questions that you're asking everyone else, when you're engaged in active listening, asking questions and hearing what these people have to say, you have to fully grasp that. You have to get an understanding of that. Amen? Amen. And then you have to speak up. Because everything that we've been through in life is propelling us to a certain place. Yeah. You don't go through anything in life and not learn from it. Amen? you are in life, you still have learning to do. Yeah. Which is why we have our own experiences, which is why God gave us all our own mind. Yeah. Amen? Yeah. Our own experiences, which we have to take with us. And when we get those experiences down under our belt, we got to speak up and we have to say something. Amen? Amen? You can't be asked questions and then say, well, I don't know, or, well, I'm just going to listen to you because I'm not sure of myself. You know something. You've been through something in your life that gives you the right to say something. Amen? Amen. But how many know that before we can listen to anybody, before we can speak up, before we can get an understanding, before we can accept experiences in life as they are, that we have to be vulnerable. You can't go into situations and say, well, you know what, this is just how it is, or I'm just going to be a passive listener today. In order to really dig deep within yourself, to be able to know yourself, to be able to understand yourself, to be able to look at other people and say, you know what, they got something that I need. They have something that I can look up to. They have something that they can feed me with. And if I connect to them and they start feeding me, I know that my experiences and my situations will help feed them as well. Amen? You have to be vulnerable to be able to know those types of things. Meaning you have to strip all of these layers that you've built up from your experiences in life, whether that's hurt, whether that's trauma, whatever you've been through in life, you got to learn how to give it all to God. You got to know how to lay it at the feet of Jesus. How many know that's where you get your healing from? All right, man. When you take things to the feet of Jesus and you just leave it there and you say, God, I know things haven't been right in my life. God, I know I've been crying repeatedly. I know I've been struggling with this thing long enough, Lord God. How many know if you just take it right there and you just place it at the feet of Jesus in your tears while you're hurting, in your pain, and you say, Jesus, I've been through this thing long enough. I'm tired of going through this, Lord. I'm placing it right here at your feet, Jesus. I don't want it no more because this may be my cross, Lord God, but I'm taking up my cross. I'm walking with it. This is my bed, Lord God, but I refuse to let this thing keep me down. So I'm going to walk with it, Lord God, until I can get to your feet, Father God. And I'm going to place it right there, and I ain't going to pick this thing up again. Amen. This thing won't taunt me again. And how many know that when you lay things at the feet of Jesus, that's when you're going to get your healing. You're going to be able to walk up. You're going to be able to walk in life with your head held high. You won't have anything burdening you anymore. Of course, we're going to go through things, and life is a cycle, and something else may come, but every time it's going to go higher and higher and higher and higher. The Lord says, you compass this mountain long enough. Amen. Turn ye northward. So you got to go up. You got to travel with the Lord, and you got to get vulnerable enough to let the Lord shift you, let the Lord mold you, let the Lord take you where you need to be taken to. And you cannot reach that level of vulnerability, carrying all this burden, all this hurt in your life. You can't get there like that. You have to take that thing to the feet of Jesus, and you have to say, Lord, I know that I have been acting as if I had it all together, Lord. But Lord, I'm ready for you to place the people in my life who I need to get a word from, Lord God. I'm ready for you to take me to the people who need to hear what I have to bring to the table. They need to hear my situations, Lord God. They need to hear what I've been through, Father God. And ultimately, when you connect with those people and you align with those people, God can do a mighty work in your life. But always remember that you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to accept things as they are. When people give you that last 10% in your life and they tell you this is where you are right now, but this is where you can go. You're backpedaling right now. But if you eventually listen to them and you start doing what the God is telling you to do, because let's all know that even though you're in counsel with other people, that we have to listen to God first, because that's the ultimate person that we have to listen to. So when you're connected to the source and you allow God to connect you with these people, your tribe, your people, that that God is going to do a mighty work in your life.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen. We're going to lead today. We're going to be vulnerable today. We're going to lay things at the feet of Jesus today. We're going to listen to the people that he has placed in our lives. We're going to listen to him. We're going to continue to seek him for that 10%. And if he placed other people in our life who we can trust and who we know are sent by God, we're going to listen to that last 10% that only those people in our lives.
All right.
And I promise you, when you connect with those people, when you get connected with the Lord, and you truly engage in active listening with those people, that God is going to do a mighty work in your life.
Yeah.
And he's going to take you to the place that you need to go. Amen.
Amen.
Let the church say amen. We've been wonderfully blessed. We thank God for our speaker this morning. We thank God for her allowing God to use her. She's spoken wonderful, practical words to us today. It's our prayer. We all will internalize what has been said, that we might move forward spiritually in our lives. I want to take a moment now and extend an invitation to Christian discipleship. There may be somebody here who's ready to make that move. Somebody here who's been listening. Somebody here who might feel a tug in their lives. Let them know that they can be a blessing to others as they allow others to be a blessing to them. If there's anyone here this morning, this is an invitation to Christian discipleship. Whosoever will, won't you come? Let's stand.